Hi, we're outside the Deep Blue Bistro down here on the beautiful Coogee Beach. And we're going to go inside this restaurant and try some of the Australian native food that they have on their menu. They're one of the few restaurants in Sydney that has a full Australian native menu. So let's go inside, see Kelly and the team, and enjoy some of the beautiful flavours of this Australian native food. We're here today with Kelly Egan from the Deep Blue Bistro at Coogee. How are you today, Kelly?
I'm really well, thank you.
That's great. Just want to ask you a couple of questions. First one being, how long's the Deep Blue restaurant been here?
Deep Blue has been here for around 3 years and sort of progressed from cafe through to restaurant and now sort of more fine dining restaurant.
Right, okay. And Kelly, how have you found people's reaction to the native food on the menu?
I think at first people can be a little bit intimidated. I think that they may be not so sure about some products. They might have some apprehension about trying animals that they've associated with being the icons of Australia for so long.
Yep.
But I think once they try them and they sort of ease themselves into it, then people really embrace it and they start bringing their friends in and they want to bring their overseas friends that are visiting in to try these things. So yeah, I certainly think it's becoming a lot more accepted by the average diner.
Would you find that most people that try it are international customers, or is it a mixture?
It is a real mixture. We anticipated it to be very much sort of people travelling and tourism orientated avenue, but you know, just everyone from locals to people having corporate lunches, people doing everything from even people that want to go out and just do a regular lunch want to try those things now. So that's definitely a really broad spectrum of people that are interested in it. And
the Australian native food flavours, are they a lot stronger because they are a native food?
I think a lot of the flavours can be more intense because they tend to be, especially particularly things like fruits and berries. They're grown in harsher conditions. They tend to survive on a lot less water, and they certainly haven't been domesticated species like the regular fruits and vegetables. But they have a more intense flavour. They tend to have unusual names, great textures, fantastic colours, and things like that.
That's great. That's great. Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Lovely.
Thank you. Good on you. We're here today with Jean-Paul Brunte, who is the head chef at the Deep Blue restaurant at Coogee. Jean-Paul, how long have you been at the Deep Blue Bistro at Coogee?
Well, I've just come back from Paris, and 3-4 months ago now, and I'm at Deep Blue, so I've come back with a vengeance to do Australian native food for Deep Blue Bistro.
Has the Australian native food always been a part of the menu here at the Deep Blue Bistro?
Well, native food's always been very much part of my life, and it's something that's very close, very dear to my heart, and it's a recent addition to the menu at Deep Blue, being a seafood restaurant, but it's a welcome addition. It's wonderful flavours, Australian flavours for an Australian restaurant.
Do you enjoy cooking with the Australian native foods, and what sort of a challenge is it for you as a chef, cooking with these types of ingredients?
The thing is that we need to realise that the Australian native flavours are unique, a bit like they are wild, our animals, our fauna. The fauna, the flora is exactly the same. We have plants, food plants in Australia which are not found anywhere else. So they are important in the Australian development of an Australian cuisine because they're unique. It's quite it's uncanny, but I mean I've tasted a lot of native foods from around the different parts of the world. I mean, for example, if you take coriander, which is found throughout most of Southeast Asia, it's quite pungent. But you have native foods like the native tomato or the wattle seed, which are in strength, 4-5 times stronger in potency and really just gobsmack sort of flavours. I mean, when you first move native foods, as I did all these years ago, you have tendencies to use them like European foods. In other words, you tend to stick some fruit inside your mouth like you would an apple, and then you go, oh, it's just because it is so pungent. But once you actually learn how to use it, in small amounts, that's where you really find that flavour, that really, really interesting flavour, which is undoubtedly Australian. I think people, or Australians in general, have sort of forgotten the fact that Australian people, Aboriginal people, lived on this land for, you know, well over 65,000 years. They did eat. They had some sort of culinary, you know, they had something happening, and they did. I mean, that's what got me sort of started in native foods back in 1983. So I just realised that all the things I learned at school never really taught me what the Aboriginals ate.
Yes.
You know, I knew about the conflicts and, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's just one day I just woke up and I thought, what did the Aborigines eat? And of course they ate kangaroo, and of course they ate emu and all these wonderful foods that, you know, are in my book. You know, like the wattle seed, the iwara plum, the bunya nut, and some of his food actually had festivals around them, like the bunya itself.
You've written a book about Australian native foods. How have you found the reception to your book in Australia?
Well, I've been involved with a few books, but Tucker's the you know, my latest. Julia Child Cookbook Prize, which is our first Australian book to receive a prize, which I should tell you is about best content, best design. Yeah, and you know, interesting about Tucker is that what I actually did with Tucker is I reset the history, the Aboriginal history, to present tense. It's not many people pick it, but if you actually read the book, you will find that everything I say about the Aboriginal people and their food habits, which most of it in the history books is actually written as past. They did, they may have, yes. You know, we saw them do that. It all is, in Tucker, it's they do, they still do, and they will do.
I'd like to say thanks very much once again.
Thank you, Greg, much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Good on you.
Okay.
Beautiful cooked kangaroo. And let's try some of this Australian native food. You really taste the strong native flavours. The flavour of that meat. You can really taste the game flavour in there. And those vegetables are quite different as well. I said, so you've got to try this. That is really a unique flavour. Really nice.